BMW has had considerable success with its 4x4 X models. The X1 is an attempt to bring the formula to a fresh and much wider audience. Getting it right pays off big time. BMW launched its SUV X Series model line back in 1999 with an X5 that was the first to prove how a car of this kind can also be good to drive. Now, the public were quick to buy into the Bavarian's concept, even when it also appeared 4 years later in a shrunken X3 model that was £5,000 more to buy than its mainstream rivals. Now, the result was an X3, X5 and sporty X6 model lineup that accounts for 1/5 of the Munich brand's worldwide sales today, and doubtless will be bolstered still further with this model, the X1. Now, with the X3, like the X5, moving further up market, this now becomes the entry point for BMW SUV-ness, and it's a more affordable one than the brand has ever been able to provide before. Now, in this, the German mark has been helped by the current trend towards so-called crossovers, essentially family hatchbacks like Nissan's Qashqai or Peugeot's 3008, with a 4x4's look and feel, but without its weight and high running costs. Now, in developing the platform of their 3 Series touring estate into something that would appeal to crossover customers, while also offering the option of 4-wheel drive in order to steal sales from so-called proper compact 4x4s like, say, Toyota's RAV4 or Land Rover's Freelander, BMW reckon they've hit upon a winning formula. Let's see if that stacks up. So, get in. What's it like? Well, the driving position mirrors the drive itself, somewhere between a family hatchback and a proper SUV. So you sit higher up than you would in a 1 Series or a 3 Series, but not so high as you would in, say, a Toyota RAV4, which is no bad thing when it comes to throwing the car into a set of twisting corners. Now, BMW claims that this model offers supreme agility in its class, whatever class that is. And sure enough, the experience, though a little soulless, is more accomplished than any other crossover or affordable small SUV model I can think of, with little body roll, despite the substantial 1,670 kilograms this car must carry around. The ride quality is particularly good, better even than that of the 3 Series touring estate car that this X1 model is based on, making light work of even badly rutted tracks, though the steering is a little heavier than that which buyers of compact BMWs will normally be used to. Now, those people might also notice a little more noise from the 2-litre diesel units that BMW has decided will be most appealing to the British market in this model. Now, this familiar turbocharged 4-cylinder common rail unit is offered in 3 main states of tune. You've got 141 brake horsepower in the X1 18D, 174 brake horsepower in the 20D, and 201 brake horsepower in this 23D variant that I'm driving here. It's a twin turbocharged engine in this form, and it makes rest of 60 in 7.3 seconds on the way to a top speed of 127 miles an hour, courtesy of a massive 400 newton meters of torque. And I'm struggling to think of too many SUVs under £50,000 that are quicker than that. The 20D version is hardly any slower, provided you order it without the 4-wheel drive and this paddle shift automatic transmission that 23D buyers must have as standard. Both the most affordable X1 diesels can be ordered with either X-Drive, that's 4-wheel drive, or S-Drive, that's rear-wheel drive layouts. If you go for X-Drive, then a clever multi-plate clutch very quickly apportions drive between the front and the rear as needed, making off-road driving, I suppose, a theoretical possibility if it wasn't for the lack of ground clearance, tarmac tyres and absence of any kind of real underbody protection. Of course, all-wheel drive is nice to have in a cold snap, but for the rest of the year you'll have to put up with marginal losses in performance and economy. And for most buyers, a better use of the premium required for the X-Drive option would be instead to invest in BMW's performance control system, which more accurately apportions power between the rear wheels. Though few would see the X1 as beautiful, it has all the high-sided, big-wheeled butchness necessary in this sector of the market, with a shape pretty much as you would expect a compact BMW SUV to look. Now, though the name and the size, it's significantly smaller than a RAV4 or a Freelander, suggests the 1 Series platform. It's actually a BMW 3 Series Touring Estate chassis that sits underneath all those flowing curves and bulges. At the wheel, there's the usual classy BMW interior, though the quality of some of the fixtures and fittings doesn't quite match that of the 3 Series. Still, the driving position is very good, with a rake and reach adjustable steering wheel and the usual simple, clear and uncluttered instrument layout. Rear seat accommodation will be fine for 2 adults once they've entered through the rather narrow door apertures, and provided that they're under 6 feet tall. Now, the rear seat backs, they recline for greater comfort on longer journeys, and if you squash up a bit, there's also space for a centre occupant, provided they're not the whinging sort likely to object to the rather bulky central transmission tunnel. When trying to park, you'd probably notice that this car is a little shorter than a BMW 3 Series Touring Estate, were it not for the fact that there's little less rearward visibility. And that marginally shorter length means marginally less boot capacity. Still, 420 litres with all the seats in place, and 1,350 litres with the 40-20-40 split folding rear seats flattened is probably as much as most owners will need, even if it isn't much more than you get in a Focus-sized family hatchback. Now, most X1s will be sold in the £25,000 to £30,000 bracket once owners have trawled through the endless options list. If you want the X-Drive all-wheel drive system, that'll cost you a premium of around £1,300. Now, as for rivals, well, it really depends on what you perceive this car to be. If you're comparing with so-called crossovers, pretend 4x4s like Nissan's Qashqai, Peugeot's 3008 or Skoda's Yeti, then you're looking at a premium of around £3,000 to £4,000 to own this BMW. But then neither of those competitors really have the badge to rival this mark. If you're comparing to compact 4x4s, then you're looking at just a bit more than you'd pay for Toyota's RAV4, and a couple of £1,000 more than reasonably premium offerings like comparable versions of Honda's CR-V, Land Rover's Freelander or Volkswagen's Tiguan. Perhaps a more telling statistic is that this car is a similar size and uses the same engines as BMW's 3 Series Touring Estate, yet will save you around £4,000 model for model. Whether you choose your X1 in 18D, 20D or 23D 2-litre diesel guises, with either S-Drive rear-wheel drive or X-Drive four-wheel drive, there's a reasonably complete specification on offer. Expect your car at minimum to come with dual zone climate control, 17-inch alloy wheels, rear parking sensors and a leather trimmed multifunction steering wheel. And that goes some way towards compensating for the fact that for the same kind of money you could have bought something larger like a Ford Kuga, or maybe even something with 7 seats like a Peugeot 4007. The diesel-dominated engine range in the X1 bodes well for its running costs, as does the adoption of the Bavarian marque's efficient dynamics technology. Now, this includes an auto start-stop system that cuts the engine in traffic and at the lights. You also get brake energy regeneration, which reclaims energy that would normally be lost under braking, and a gear shift light indicator to help you drive more efficiently. Now, all of this has resulted in a set of class-leading figures. The top performer is the X1 18D, achieving 54.3 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle. But the 20D variant is only just behind, with 53.3 miles to the gallon. Both of them are pretty effective when it comes to CO2 returns, achieving between 136 and 139 grams per kilometre. Now, as with performance, economy does take a hit if you take on the extra weight of the X-Drive four-wheel drive system. you'll lose about 5 miles to every gallon. Still, the xDrive 23D variant that I'm at the wheel of here, it still manages 44.8 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle and 167 grams per kilometre of CO2. Now, there are plenty of people ready to be cynical about lifestyle SUVs and the crossover models that copy them, but the reality is that without cars like these, the 4x4 market would have petered out here long ago. With the X1, BMW has looked closely at this sector and produced a product carefully designed to suit. Now, true, there are premium prices, but this is still better value than any other car the brand has previously offered in this segment and gives you most of what you get in BMW's 3 Series Touring for a lot less money. And of course, it handles better than any car of this kind has any right to do. But then any brand capable of turning something Range Rover sized into a sports car is hardly going to struggle with something this small. The X1 even boasts a set of economy and an environmental figures strong enough to silence the green lobby. It is, in short, like it or not, a car of our times.